Applied Software Advanced MEP Fabrication Series.
Item creation. All items are created from patterns that are hard-coded into the Fabrication CAD-MEP software. Patterns are the basic building blocks for all fabrication items. Patterns are typically complex, 3D shapes with parametric dimensions and fabrication data rather than simple geometry. Only Autodesk can add new patterns, but the number and types of patterns in the software is extensive. Each pattern is identified by its pattern number. When creating a new item, it's a best practice to copy and modify an existing item, if possible, rather than create one from a pattern. This enables you to start with a fully completed item and minimize your customization efforts. Be aware that some items from third-party sources are copyrighted intellectual property. Copies of these items are also, by inclusion of their licensed materials, copyrighted, and you must have the rights to use them. Items created solely from the patterns or items included with the Fabrication CADmep software are Autodesk copyrighted materials and subject to the Autodesk License and Service Agreement. There may be times when copying an existing item is not possible or practical. You can use the source pattern of a similar item to create a new item, or you can start with the most appropriate pattern. The first step in this process is to identify the best possible pattern to use. There are two methods for identifying optimal patterns. Open CID.dwg from the exercise folder. This drawing has two embedded PDF images. These images are clipped from a CID catalog that can be obtained from your Autodesk partner or CAD manager. CID catalogs can be created using the MAKEPAT command in Fabrication CAMduct. The MAKEPAT command in Fabrication CADmep cannot create a complete catalog. You can browse through a CID catalog to see which patterns are appropriate for the item you wish to create. Another method for selecting the optimal pattern is to identify the pattern number of a similar item. In the Service and Section drop-down menu, select ADSK HVAC Supply Air. Verify that the rectangular tab is selected. Right-click on the square bin service button and select Properties. Select the ITM file associated with this service button. The Item Properties window appears. The CID number is 3. To the right of the CID field is information as to the original source pattern. The CID can be changed, but the source pattern number cannot. Click Cancel to exit the window. Enter MAKEPAT in the command line. You're prompted to enter a pattern number. Enter 3 and press Enter. The Pattern Editor window appears with the CID3 pattern displayed in a viewer pane. Make no changes to this pattern. Note the parametric dimensions associated with the pattern shape. These dimensions can be locked to prevent user modifications. The View and Visual Style default to what was last selected. Select the Options tab to observe the many settings associated with this pattern. Some of these values appear in the CID catalog for this CID. Select the Item tab. The settings on this tab are the same as defined in the Edit Item Properties window. The viewer pane on the left enables the same mouse zoom and pan controls as within AutoCAD Model Space. You can use the mouse to zoom in and out, rotate the pattern, change the view, and change the visual style. Using the pull-downs at the top of the viewer pane, change the view and the visual style to something different to observe how these controls operate. Change the view to SW isometric and the visual style to shaded plus lines if it is not already set to these values. The toolbar along the left side of the view pane offers commands to change the view, visual style, and to toggle annotation display on or off. Click Cancel to exit this window without saving changes. For this exercise, you create a new air handling unit item. Verify that the service is still set to Supply Air. Select the End-of-Line Equipment tab in the Service palette. Right-click on the AHU or Air Handling Unit Service button and select Edit. Select the ITM file associated with this service button. The Item Editor window appears with the AHU displayed. Make no changes to this item. If necessary, change the view to SW isometric and the visual style to shaded plus lines. The Dimensions, Options, Item, and Other tabs are the same as previously viewed with the CID pattern, but there are far more dimensions and options for this more complex AHU item. Although it isn't shown in this window, the CID and pattern number for this item are 521. Compare the pattern that you see in the view pane to the pattern shown in the CID catalog image inserted in the drawing. The pattern is a simple elongated cube. It has no flanges, holes, or connectors. Click Cancel to exit this window without saving changes. Enter the command MAKEPAT. You're prompted to enter pattern number. Enter 521 and press Enter. The pattern editor appears with the CID pattern number 521 displayed. If necessary, change the view to SW isometric and the visual style to shaded plus lines. There are only 3 dimensions listed for this simple shape: width, depth, and length. As a comparison, the AHU item listed about 20 dimensions. Dimension A is labeled width and has a default value of 24. You can easily see the dimension labeled A in the view pane and that it has an assigned value of 24. Dimension A is currently unlocked so that it can be sized when placed into the model. Select the Options tab and note how few values are listed. Select the Item tab. It has the same information as the AHU. Click the Other tab. There are no values. Return to the Dimensions tab and select the Add button at the bottom of the window. The Add dialog appears. Click the Select Item drop-down menu to view the available options. You have the option to add a hole, left door, right door, double door, or an arrow. Remembering that the AHU had several holes or connectors for attaching ductwork, select Hole and OK. This hole will be the supply air duct connection. You're prompted to select which side of the item will have this feature. Using the drop-down menu, select Top and click OK. The Pattern Editor view pane shows new geometry and their associated dimensions. In the Dimensions tab, dimension items D through J appear. These new dimensions apply to the hole that has been added to the top of the pattern. The Add button enables you to add multiple holes, doors, or arrows to this pattern. When there were only 3 dimensions for this simple cube, the descriptions labeled width, height, and length were easy to understand. But with the complexity comes confusion. It's a best practice to change the descriptions to more clearly identify them. Select the letter B, identifying the second dimension in the list. This dimension is currently labeled depth. A dialog appears. In the description field, type main body height and click OK. Dimension B now shows main body height as its description. In complex patterns, it can be difficult to identify which dimension controls which pattern geometry. A quick method to identify a dimension is to change a dimensional value in the right pane and press F7 to force a redraw of the pattern in the view pane. To illustrate this, change the value of the main body height to 48 and press F7. The pattern changes to be 48 inches tall. You can use the Redraw button, identified with a paintbrush icon, located at the bottom of the window instead of pressing F7. In the view pane, you see that the parameters for the height shows B equals 48. Enter these values for width: A equals 24, main body height B equals 25, and length C equals 21. Press F7 to redraw the pattern with these new dimensions. Change the description of dimension D to supply duct width. Set the value of this dimension to 10. Change the description for dimension E to supply duct depth and set its default value to 21. Dimension F will not be used for this item, so click on F and change the description to NA or not applicable. Leave the value of dimension F as 0. Redraw the pattern. A 10 by 21 hole is now visible in the top of the pattern. Dimensions G through J control the location or placement of the hole. Before you can change the descriptions, you must identify what each dimension controls. For dimension G, enter a value of 5 and press F7 to redraw. The hole moved 5 inches to the back right or in the positive X direction. Change the same value from 5 to 7 and press F7. Observe that the hole moved so far that it overhangs the end of the pattern. You can enter several different values and redraw to observe how the hole moves on the pattern. This enables you to understand what geometry is controlled by the dimension. Change 7 to -6 and redraw the item. The hole now goes to the front left in the negative X direction. Note that the UCS is dependent on the view and will change depending on which view you are currently in. Change the value to 5 and press F7. This will be correct placement for the hole. Click on the Dimension G button and change the description to Supply Duct Inset. Change the description for Dimension H to Supply Duct Offset. You can experiment with changing values for this dimension and redrawing the view to understand what it affects in the view pane. For this exercise, set the default value of H to 0.
Dimension I controls the collar on the supply connection.
A collar is a sheet metal flange that protrudes from the AHU body to allow ductwork connections to the AHU. Rename this dimension to Supply Duct Collar and verify that the value is 2. Dimension J controls the axial rotation of the supply connection. This setting is not needed, so it will remain as 0. Change the description to NA. To complete the changes to dimension descriptions, change Dimension A to Main Body Width and Dimension C to Main Body Length. You have completed adding the supply duct connection to this AHU and enhancing the dimension descriptions. Adding a return connection involves the same steps as for the supply connection, so you will not need to do so in this exercise. It is a best practice to lock the dimensions that cannot or should not be changed by users when placing it into a model. In many cases, a pattern or item will have some fixed dimensions and some variable dimensions. For this exercise, you will lock all dimensions. To do this, click the Lock button to the right of the first dimension. The icon changes to indicate that the value has been locked. You may continue to select each Lock button individually, or you may lock all dimensions in one step. Select and hold the second dimension Lock button so that it changes from unlocked to locked. While holding the mouse button down, drag the cursor downward over each Lock button. As you do this, each lock symbol changes from unlocked to locked. Select the Options tab. Make no changes to the values. For this exercise, lock all the settings. Click the Item tab. You may enter and lock specific database settings for this item. Set the pressure class to Ductwork -2WG. When you set this value, the field is automatically locked. Enable the Bought Out option. Scroll down the list and set the service type to 39 AHU. Click on the Other tab. This tab enables you to set the connectors and seams for the item. Return to the Dimensions tab. Add a door to the left side. To do this, click Add, select Right Door, and click OK. A right door is also known as a right-hand door and has the pull handle on the right side. The hinges are on the left edge of the door. Select the left side and click OK. New dimensions K through Q appear in the Dimensions tab and features appear on the left face of the AHU in the view pane. The procedure for defining this door is the same as for the supply air duct connection. Change the dimension descriptions, set default values, and lock them. Dimension K controls the width of the door, while L controls the height. Rename dimension K to left door width and enter a value of 16. Rename dimension L to left door height and enter a value of 16. Redraw the item and observe the addition of the 16-inch by 16-inch right-hand door on the left side of the AHU. Dimension M controls whether the door opening is square or round. Adding a value will change the door opening to a circle. Leave this value at 0 and rename it to NA. Dimensions N and O control the placement of the door within the left side. Change the value of dimension N to 3 and press F7 to observe the change. Dimension N controls the horizontal placement of the door from the center of the AHU side. Rename dimension N to left door horizontal offset. Dimension O is the offset in the Y or vertical direction. Rename this to left door vertical offset and leave the value at 0. The door remains centered on the side of the AHU. Dimensions P and Q are not needed. Rename both to NA and leave the values at 0. Lock all of the dimensions for the door. Your custom AHU is now complete. Click OK to save your work. The Save Item File As dialog appears. Expand the Imperial Content folder structure to locate HVAC, Generic, Equipment, Air Handling Units. Name the file AHU SA LD and click Save. The new Air Handler Unit item has been added to the item folders. The name AHU SA LD stands for the Air Handling Unit, Supply Air, Left Door. Using abbreviations or codes to describe a new item is a best practice. This new item can be added to any service template or added to the job from the item folders. Select the Display Folders Interface button on the CAD MEP toolbar or enter Folders in the command line. The Folders interface appears between the drawing window and the service palette. The upper part of the interface shows icons of items filed within the folders selected in the tree view below. Fabrication CADmep displays the last items folder to be used in the current session. Because you just saved a new item to the Air Handling Units folder, it may be active and display the newly created AHU SA-LD item. If it does not, navigate in the tree view to Imperial Content, HVAC, Generic, Equipment, Air Handling Units. In the drawing window, zoom out so that you can place items into the drawing without conflicting with the embedded PDFs. Drag and drop the AHU SA-LD item from the folder's interface into the model. The Item Editor dialog appears. The locked dimensions are grayed out and cannot be modified. Click OK and place the item anywhere in the model. The attacher arrow is added to the supply duct connection. Change to an SW isometric view with a conceptual visual style. Now you can attach duct items to the AHU. Select the rectangular tab of the Supply Air Service palette and select the straight duct. You may receive a connector mismatch error dialog. Click OK to continue and place the duct. The duct attaches to the attacher arrow on the supply air connection that you created on the top of the AHU. If you previously received the connector mismatch warning, the flanges at the top and bottom of the duct protrude outwards from the connector. These are incorrect connectors. To fix the connector type, double-click on the duct. The Item Editor window appears. Click on the Item tab. Change to pressure class to match that of the AHU +2 WG design. Click OK to save the changes and return to the model. Notice that the duct item has changed to meet the new specification. The connector type matches the AHU and the length adjusts to the new specifications. Typically, your CAD manager will set the connector types in the services specifications. The previous steps placed a duct onto the AHU using the attacher arrow. You now learn to connect a design line to place ductwork onto the AHU. Delete the duct item. Close the folder's interface by clicking the X at the top right of the window. Start a new design line. The design line interface activates. Click View on the Design Line Interface pull-down menu and verify that Enter by Size is enabled. Select Add New Line. The Design Line command activates. While holding the Shift key, hover the cursor over the center of the connector on the top of the AHU. Snap to the node that appears and click to place the start of the design line. A Design Line Working Size dialog appears. It asks if you want to switch to the new size and elevation. Click Yes. The design line starts and extends from the connector node on the AHU. In the Design Line interface, set the elevation to 100 and select the Add Riser button. A design line segment appears above the AHU. Press Enter to end the design line. Select the Fill in 3D command to display the ductwork.